Joining us now for newspaper review is been by Mutenhiri Ekwenyang, our Nigerian wife.
Dr. Abati, what should we call him? Our Rise Traveler. Welcome back. It's so good to see you. Good morning, good morning, Rufi Fire. How are you today?
Vim.
All right, well, we've got so much to get through, so let's get straight into the newspaper review today. Of course, we begin here at home with the newspaper of record. This day newspaper leading with a story that you all have already done a great justice in analyzing. That's at the NBA conference. Tinubu vows to protect rule of law, tolerate dissenting voices. Of course, we know that the past few days have been huge for the legal fraternity with the swearing in of the new CJN, and of course now with the NBA conference, the judicial system has been under spotlight, and so many things to unpack when we're looking at that. However, that's on the front page. At the top, above the masthead, FG moves to eliminate malaria, taps Dangote Otedola Elumelu to drive efforts to end scourge. So those are some efforts against malaria taking place. But I want to focus on a story at the very bottom of the newspaper, which is all about police Shiite adherents in bloody clash in Abuja. Some officers dead, several injured. Now, this is a big story that broke yesterday as police reported that 2 of their men died and 3 are currently unconscious in hospital after what the Commissioner of Police described as an incident where there was an unprovoked attack on a police checkpoint. So they say that the members of the Shiite faith were protesting or were walking, and they attacked, apparently, this is according to the police commissioner, attacked the police, and they were wielding machetes, explosives, and a number of other weapons. Of course, in a counter statement, the group has said, of course, we know that they fall under El Zakzaki. They've stated that the police attacked peaceful mourners of the ongoing Arabian symbolic trek. We know that similar issues and clashes have happened in the past, 2016, 2018, 2020, just to name a few. However, those are the 2 sides of the story, injuries and deaths on both sides, still waiting really for a final confirmation of the true state of death toll and casualties. Let's move to the Daily Trust, which is also focusing on this. So the Daily Trust, you see images of some of the patrol vehicles, police patrol vehicles that were burnt as a result of this clash that happened in Wuse in Abuja yesterday. Now, Daily Trust today is all about insecurity. So above that, days after the killing of the emir, bandits abduct over 150 in Gobir, rustled over 1,000 cattle. So if you remember, just last week, there was an emir in Sokoto who was abducted. He was kidnapped. Eventually, he was killed in captivity. And since then, that emirate has been extremely in an extreme state of tension. There have been protests, there's been public outcry. Now it seems bandits have abducted over 150 in this same area. Now, if you read the report, it's harrowing. You hear about how, they know exactly who the bandits are. Apparently, there's phone calls that are made intermittently to these bandits. There's videos released of these bandits. So it seems everybody knows them, has their contact details, but still nothing happens. Now to another story, which all ties together, insecurity. Looking at those medical students, of course, we saw that interview you guys conducted earlier. IG hands over 20 rescued medical students to VCs. But like you said in the interview, big focus on intelligence. What is happening? Because in Sokoto, they're saying they have the intelligence, the information is there, but it's not being acted on. Now, to more news, it's still on the front page of Daily Trust. Daily Trust is reporting how the court has frozen 32 bank accounts linked to the End Bad Governance protests. So let's move to Nigerian Tribune because they're leading with this story. Now, basically, these accounts are said to have been used to promote terrorism financing, treasonable felonies, cyberbullying, and cyber stalking. And one of the accounts frozen, because I've gone through the list of some of the account names, one of the accounts that has been frozen is called the Obedient Movement Multipurpose Cooperative Society. So you now ask yourself, who is behind this? What is this about? Because, it's a cooperative society, so anybody can just go and register it. But, when you see some of these names, questions have to be asked as to what exactly is going on. And then you see cyberbullying, cyberstalking, treasonable felonies, very concerning developments happening concerning what we saw transpire during the End Bad Governance protests. Now, to the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard newspaper is leading with a story that, it's concerning because we see these presidential executive orders that are supposed to bring succor to various parts of the country and various sectors of business. However, Vanguard is reporting that FG is yet to implement 2 months after the executive order on medicaments. So remember, there was that presidential executive order in June that was aimed at reducing the cost of essential medicine by exempting pharmaceutical necessities from tariffs and duties. Well, this report says that that's yet to take place. It hasn't happened yet. Let's go to The Guardian, which is reporting similar news. This time, it's on the importation food waiver policy. This says FX execution hitches threaten food waiver policies as farmers kick. So they're saying that they've done their investigation with Nigeria Customs Service, and the person they interviewed there is saying that basically, quote unquote, there's nothing on ground. The duty-free import window is yet to kick off. Apparently, companies are a little bit reluctant because they feel that they need some FX support in order for it to be viable. And some are also saying that the eligibility criteria is too stringent. You need 5-year tax returns, a number of things. So apparently, farmers are still skeptical. And although it seems that things may be in order to begin, the process for people to benefit from this is out of this world. So, and the window closes in December. So this report is saying that the window for this duty-free food importation might even close before people have started using it. Now let's move to Punch. Punch is still focusing on fuel issues, and I love it because this is a niggling issue that we really need to thrash out. It says September rollout, Tinubu panel, Dangote refinery brainstorm on petrol pricing. So the President's Committee and the refinery are to conclude talks on the Naira crude supply and petrol pricing. For me, the big takeaway from this story was the question, will the government pay subsidy to Dangote refinery, or will their price be at market price? Because we know that if it's at market price, it's not going to be viable for them to sell in the Nigerian market. So those discussions are going to happen today as to what the official market price will be for Dangote refinery. Will government subsidize them? Now, let's move next door to Ghana. Let's move to the daily, I believe it's the Daily Graphic in Ghana. Daily Graphic is all about campaign season. Things are hot, hot, hot. Yesterday, we saw the former President John Mahama launch his manifesto, which was said to address jobs, infrastructure. You know the deal when it comes to campaign promises. So NDC promises economic revival. Beneath that, Vice President Bawumia, who's of course running as the presidential candidate for the NPP, he's saying that NPP deserves another term, touts NPP's better record, and says party will do more next term. Controversial takeaway from his own rally yesterday was that he was saying that he is definitely pro-legislation that is anti-LGBTQT. So that was a big conversation. Let's move to the Herald Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, Herald is leading with air ambulance services takeoff, but that's not the real story. The real story is beneath that, and it says that there is a branch of the leading party which is calling for the nation to start amendments for president to continue beyond 2028. So Zimbabwe observes 2 5-year term limits for presidents, of which the current president is enjoying his second term, which expires in 2028. They're saying that whatever needs to be done to the Constitution should be done so that the president can go beyond those constitutional term limits. They're saying if it's, they're going as far as saying that if we need to do away with term limits completely, let's do it. Of course, this is Robert Mugabe's Zimbabwe that we're referring to here. So we've already had one almost lifetime president. We'll take one last paper very quickly, and let's go to the UK. The IUK leads with cabinet split as Labour MPs fear voter backlash over winter fuel allowance cut. Policy by Chancellor Reeves is intended to plug £22 billion black hole in UK finances. So subsidy conversations also happening in the UK.
I mean, a lot is going on in the UK and in other parts of the world. But real quickly, I want to talk about that customs thing that has not happened yet. The question is, so what can the government quickly do? Because if you start now and we're targeting December for all of this to end, by now we should expect people to decide to bring food in. We should not also rest on the fact that, oh, we're having good harvest now, that some prices are coming down. So what are the bottlenecks? We've not even solved the administrative bottlenecks. These people obviously need Forex. So at what rate do they want it? Can also these companies that want Forex be able to go to the Dutch auction scheme of the CBM to be able to make their request through the bank so that probably they could get at 1,400? How quickly are we able to get into this? Because that's always what bedevils every government policy. It's good intention, but following through an implementation a couple of months after, it's a very sad one. It's a sad reality on us.
So still talking about implementation, the Vanguard report on medicaments as well just shows that when it comes to policies being announced, implementation is a big deal. Yeah. So it's we make this, loud celebration about these and how effective these policies or executive orders will be. The food waiver, policy and now the medicaments. But unfortunately, you check months down the line, nothing has been done. So there are a few things that this indicators. Number one, it's either there wasn't a broad assessment of implementation done before an announcement was made. And haven't we seen that a lot of times with policies in this administration where almost as if a policy is announced in an excited manner, and then when it comes to implementation, you begin to see bottlenecks that make it almost impossible to execute. Then making the policy null and void or dead on arrival. And again, like the medical, some people in the industry have said that whilst this stall is happening, especially for medicaments, people are dying. Yeah. The result of this is that people are dying. People can't afford to pay for drugs. The cost of production is high. So we need an immediate fix. Let's stop celebrating announcements, actually. Yeah. Let us celebrate implementation. That is the most important thing.
That's the way to go.
Okay, in the UK, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is going to speak tomorrow. Which will be his major address after the riots, the protests that they had in England. And some of the issues he will be addressing will be, blaming the Conservatives and telling everybody that it will take up to a decade, in fact beyond 2029, for the UK to be able to resolve the problems in the United Kingdom. So it's not only in Nigeria that people blame past administrations. They do it also in the United Kingdom. He's going to talk about the autumn budget, which Richard Reeves has said, well, there may be no increase in VAT or national insurance, but definitely there will be something about inheritance tax and capital gains tax. On the winter fuel allowance cut, where cabinet is divided over that, because MPs are saying that they are receiving a lot of pressures from their constituents in this regard. But tomorrow, when Keir Starmer speaks, we'll see what that is all about and what he puts on the table. Now, let us go to front page of Vanguard newspaper. Let's use this opportunity to congratulate the Atuashe III, the Olu of Warri, on the occasion of his third anniversary on the throne. The celebration is week-long, and we're very glad. I recall that 3 years ago we were debating, and all kinds of persons came here, arguing this way and that way about the chieftaincy law in that community. But, we're glad that he's been able to sustain that throne and provide leadership and provide the dignity that throne deserves. Finally, the executive order on pharmacy, on medicaments. When President Tinubu introduced that, executive order, the expectation was that, look, it will increase local production, increase local content, and that the various agencies concerned, NAFDAC, SON, Customs, I think also the NDLA, will be able to put that into process. But we raised the question at that time to say that the details have not been worked out, that it was a populist gesture, which made pharmacists happy. The lesson about this is that policies should not be made for the purpose of populism. We need to do something about the pharmaceutical industry to the extent that you increase production and you also reduce the cost of medicines. That has not happened. And we're talking about medicaments. How about the minimum wage that the president has signed into law? The new national minimum wage. We will be here next year. We'll be talking about the implementation of the new National Minimum Wage Act. This is the way, we roll in Nigeria.